my name is Sophia Brown and I've been given a third task, and this data model is about a power plant and where employees can improve operations by handing in proposals, and the good proposals getting a reward. So as before, I'll go through the different steps that I've taken in order to create the data model and then finally check to make sure that it fills the requirements of the task. So the step one is to identify the different objects. I look to the business description to see if I can find any objects. I won't read through the business description. You can just pause the video if you want to do that. But here I can identify 3 different types of objects. When it comes to the passive objects, I can identify proposals, money, department, and business area. And when it comes to active objects, I've identified employees and manager. And then when it comes to complex objects or activities, I've identified rewarded, as in rewarding something, and also come up with. So the objects can be sorted into these different areas. The next step is, unlike the other tasks that I've done, is to identify relationships, because in the business description I can see or I identify a lot of relationships. So I thought the next step would be to look closer at the individual relationships between the objects. So if you start off by looking at the relationship between employee and department, and in the business description it says a department can have several employees, but one employee can only belong to one department. Therefore, there's a one-to-many relationship. If we look at the relationship between the business area and the proposal, the business description says a unique proposal can only belong to one business area. A business area can receive several proposals. Therefore, again, one-to-many relationship. If we look at the relationship between reward and money, all good proposals are rewarded with money. Therefore, again, it's a one-to-many relationship. If we look at the relationship between reward and proposal, a unique proposal can only be rewarded with a reward once. Each reward can only belong to a unique proposal. In order to represent this relationship, I've used a one-to-one relationship, but then I've used, so to make sure that the reward can only be, one proposal can only be rewarded once, I've used the proposal ID as a primary key in the reward table, but also have, in order to connect the 2 objects, used that as a foreign key. Now if we look at the relationship between employee and manager and reward, a reward is approved by the manager who's in the staff. Therefore, this statement shows that there's a relationship between both reward and manager, but also manager and employee. So there is one manager can reward several proposals, but a proposal or a good proposal can only be rewarded once, therefore one-to-many. And in order, the relationship between employee and manager is a one-to-one. And I could have put this as a manager as an attribute in the employee, but I wanted to make sure it was more clear, because otherwise there would have been a lot of empty cells in the employee table. So I've separated this, and I've used the employee ID as a foreign key in the manager in order to show this relationship, but I've also added attributes to manager, which makes the manager object unique and describes the manager. And an example of this is how many direct reports. There's still one relationship left, and that is an employee can submit several proposals. Proposals can be submitted by several employees. Then here we have a many-to-many. which we know we shouldn't have. But then if we look a bit further down in the business description, it talks about how the employees can talk during coffee break and come up with a good proposal, and that they can also be part of many employees can be part of many proposals. So we need to objectify this relationship, and the activity with taking a coffee break and coming up with the idea, I've objectified to being a brainstorming activity. And therefore we can change the relationship, the many-to-many relationship, to that an employee can be part of many brainstorming activities, but one brainstorming activities can only be done by one employee. And a proposal can be part of many brainstorms activities, but one brainstorm activity can only be connected to one proposal. Step 3 is to give or describe the different objects and their details. So at the moment the model looks, when all connected, like this. But here I would argue that a reward money, the money object, can be seen as a property of the reward, and therefore I can take away this object and add an attribute to reward amount to give the same data to the reward table. So now the data model looks like this. I filled in more attributes in order to describe the different objects, but also more detail about what type of data the different attributes should be in. So the final step is to see if the data model actually fulfills the requirements. So if we, for example, take a reward in the bottom middle, and we can see that it is connected to proposition number 1002, we can therefore see that it is go to the proposal object and see that it is a proposal regarding the business area 201, and 201 is safety. But then we can also go to the brainstorming activity and see that there are two 1002 proposition IDs, and we can see that there is an employee ID 2 connected to this, but also 4. And then if we follow back up to the employee table, then we can see that employee 2 is Peter and employee 4 is Matilda. We can see that Peter is part of the business development team 305, and Matilda is also 305, part of the business development team. And if we go back to the actual reward, we can see that it's manager ID 35 that is given this reward, and we know therefore can see that manager ID 35 is employee ID 7, and therefore we know that it's Karin Björk that has given this reward.